Mr. President, Dr. Akumi Adesina, Madam Adesina, my brother, Professor Njuguna Ndungu, the outgoing chair, and Mr. Felipe Lasme, representing the incoming chair. Your Excellencies, African Development Bank governors and alternate governors, representatives of the African Union Commission, honorable ministers, heads of regional economic communities, heads of international, bilateral, and regional financial institutions, delegates and shareholders, executive directors, government officials, and staff of the African Development Bank. Let me take this opportunity to extend my sincere appreciation for your active participation in the 59th annual meetings of the African Development Bank Group and the 50th annual meetings of the African Development Fund. We have witnessed a record registration of over 8,300 delegates. If you add the number of visitors who may not have registered but were here, I don't know what the figure will come to, which is a testament of commitment towards the bank's vision and agenda and the suitable position of the host as a regional hub. The theme of this year's annual meetings, Africa's Transformation, the African Development Bank Group, and the reform of the global financial architecture, provided a unique platform to address Africa's challenges and opportunities at the highest decision-making levels. The engagement of the heads of state and government in the presidential dialogues, high-level plenary sessions for the launch of the bank's flagship publication, the 2024 Africa Economic Outlook, and the thematic knowledge events underscores the critical role of both technical and political goodwill in the transformation of our economies. The theme also resonated well with the need to reform the global financial architecture to be responsive to the needs of developing countries. The envisaged economic transformation in the continent requires substantial resources to be achieved. However, the global financial architecture, as currently structured, may not be adequately aligned to deliver on the required resources. This is why Africa is rooting for a financial model which shall ensure that countries have fair and significant access to affordable and long-term concessional resources in order to close the financing gap and realize the envisaged social and economic transformation. The financial architecture we advocate today for Africa should strongly integrate the most challenging development issues of debt sustainability and climate vulnerabilities while enabling the continent to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2063 commitments. I am happy to note that the bank's vision for the continent, underpinned through the high fives, strategies, and the objectives of the newly adopted 10-year strategy, 2024 to 2033, provide important basis towards the achievement of these critical continental objectives. Recycling of special drawing rights. We wish to thank the IMF Executive Board for approving the recycling of special drawing rights to multilateral development banks for use as hybrid capital. It took a long time to get to this point, and we therefore congratulate the IMF for overcoming strong opposition. Now countries must recycle their SDRs to the multilateral development banks. I am glad that the African Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank already have proposals on the table to accept countries' SDRs as hybrid capital, which they will leverage fourfold to increase lending to support a wide variety of projects that will advance progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. We encourage other MDBs to follow suit. The only limitation imposed by the IMF is that no more than SDR 15 billion or about US dollars 20 billion can be used as hybrid capital. But there is a potential for USD 80 billion of badly needed lending power in the MDB system. The escalating debt burden, compounded by effects of climate change and the pressure to unwind these effects in readiness for economic transformation, is critical to provide affordable and concessional long-term financing. The imperative for a strong replenishment of the 17th cycle of the African Development Fund of US dollars 25 billion cannot be overstated. This will complement support from the International Development Association, IDA, the World Bank's concessional window in supporting the low-income countries. To support this call, the government of Kenya, as you have already heard, has committed to contribute US dollars 20 million to the African Development Fund. We therefore call upon shareholders of the bank to deliver the ambition of a strong ADF. I also wish to extend my appreciation to our development partners for enabling capacity to tackle the multiple development challenges, including food insecurity, the effects of climate change, fragility, rising debt, and economic vulnerabilities. We renew our strong support for putting in place the enablers necessary to leverage the equity of African Development Fund in the international capital markets while continuing discussions on options to ensure the fund's long-term financial sustainability, including the retention of best practices for financial and risk management. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation to Dr. Kiwumi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank, for his exemplary leadership and unwavering dedication and transformation of the bank to effectively address the pressing development challenges of African economies. These efforts have placed the bank at the forefront of the global development community, and the bank's role has been pinned as a leading development partner through its frontier working policy, development, and support using diverse instruments to the African economies. I hereby fully reaffirm my support to his work and vision to improve the quality of lives of our people. Well, I was asking the President and his team, the Secretary General, and indeed I must ask all of you, I wonder what your weight was when the meetings were starting and whether you feel lighter today. You have done a tremendous job, all of you, and really, on behalf of the government of Kenya, we really want to acknowledge each and every one of you for having done a sterling job. On behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the government of Kenya, we feel honored and privileged to have successfully hosted the 2024 Africa Development Bank annual meetings during an important time in its history that is marking its 60th anniversary. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a pleasant stay and a safe journey back to your respective destinations. It is now my honor to declare the 59th annual meetings of the Board of Governors of the African Development Bank and the 50th annual meetings of the Board of Governors of the African Development Fund officially closed. I thank you all.